Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. Today I'm sitting down with one of the most celebrated voices in American music, Alison Krauss. With her band Union Station, she's been at the forefront of bluegrass and acoustic music for decades, winning multiple Grammys and helping bring the genre to a wider audience. She's also known for her critically acclaimed collaborations with Robert Plant, blending folk, country, and rock in ways that defy category. Here's my interview. Alison, welcome.
Thank you.
It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, so I want to jump into something we were just talking about, because interviews always start with, okay, where are you from? And I know where you're from Illinois, Champaign, right? Is that right?
Yeah, born in Decatur, and we grew up in Champaign.
Is that where REO Speedwagon is from?
They were Peoria.
Peoria,
Very
oh my
well known
gosh.
in Champaign, though, yeah.
I have to ask you just about some of the rock bands that you like from back then.
Well, Foreigner, of
Yeah.
course, and Skinner, AC/DC. I love Bad Company.
Did you go to a lot of concerts when you were a kid?
Not as many as I wish I had. And so many people came through there because of the Assembly Hall. And I don't know why we didn't go all the time. My brother saw Steve Miller.
Okay.
And that was life-changing for him. He just loves that. Still talks about how great that was.
We were just talking, we're in a recording studio here. You've been in recording studios many, many times. What's your perfect atmosphere to sing in?
Well, I like to sing at the Doghouse.
Okay.
That's Neil's studio. I've been there for, I don't know, sang there 25 years or something. And it's set apart. I feel like it's set apart from the rest of town here even. It has a quietness and a privacy to it. And it's in a neighborhood, but it's dark and plain, and it doesn't have a lot of mood. I don't want anything to tell me how to feel, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's just very, of course it's supposed to be quiet, but quieting, I'm sure it has a lot to do with Neil too. But yeah, I want to sing there. That's where I see myself singing. That's where I like to be. I have sang other places, but if I can choose it, that's where it's going to be.
When you're singing harmony with someone, are you doing it at the same time in different rooms? How do you do that?
On our records, no.
Yeah.
And most times the way it happens now, they'll send it, and then I put it on later. But we have done things. Robert and I did some things when we recorded the first album. I think we sang at the same time on a couple of them. It's not my preferred way.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like I can get closer. I have more choices I can make if I do it a number of times.
I had seen where he was talking about that he'd never really sung harmony before. And I was thinking, yeah, there's not a lot of harmony in Zeppelin records. But he can sing harmony.
He can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so incredible, because you don't see him playing, people forget, just how incredibly talented of a musician he is. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
And to come in and go, okay, now I'm going to sing harmony, and he's not just going above somebody, he's singing right underneath you. And if you grew up singing harmony like all the bluegrass people, the baritone right under the lead, that's the one. And, here he is. And it's fascinating to watch somebody learn it, and someone who's so, you can't really say he's set in his ways because he's constantly changing. I guess that you could say he's on a constant quest to stay out of his ways.
Now, when you're singing harmony parts, right, and you sing there are certain things where you're not always in parallel thirds. A lot of times you'll use fourths and intervals like that to fit the chord right. And these are things that you just do by ear, right?
Yeah.
Or will you experiment with things?
Depends on the tune. I really like the close parts, the exactness of those thirds and riding that around.
Yeah.
That's usually where you go. But if the lead is low and somebody's voice is lower there, then I'll do some kind of combination between the third and the fifth to make, it's almost like another melody.
Yeah.
So that you have that true duet. Like, the Louvens did a lot of those part crossing, and Jim and Jesse did a lot of that, where you go, where's the lead? So it's like a double lead, and sometimes you do that if me singing the third above just doesn't have any shine.
Do you think that the lead is when you have something that's really harmony dense, that the lead should be slightly louder? Because I think when I hear it, it's like the voices are equal.
Yeah, I mean, bluegrass people, you know, they really want those harmonies. And the goal is like one voice.
Yes.
To make it sound like one voice. And so that's what I grew up listening to. I love that. And even the tenor part, you know, above the lead was even kind of louder. And I think about that now and how they recorded, like Ralph Stanley. There's an album called Clinch Mountain Gospel.
Oh, yeah.
To me, oh yeah, okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, the best. And like they were standing around doing it, and they did it in one day, and they finished it. And you know, Ralph sings so loud.
Yeah.
You know, he was an animal. So you go, it's probably just him singing normally, and maybe who knows what they wanted the mix to be like. But because they're doing it all live, standing in the same room, you know, who knows? Maybe that was never the intention, but probably was. But I like the tenor right there with the lead, and then if the lead's on top, and then you've got the lead on top and the baritone here, I like that baritone to be right with that, and then you slip that third underneath there where you kind of switch it if the tenor's on top.
Now, if you're singing lead and then go to a harmony part, will you change your tone for blend? How do you do that?
I guess it depends on the person you're
You're
singing.
always listening, though, right? You're always listening for the blend.
Yeah, yeah. But sometimes, you know, like, depending on how different the person is you're singing with and their voice, and like sometimes if there's a wide vibrato, and then if I get on there, that cannot be great.
Yes.
So I got to straighten out. It takes a minute, you know, in the studio with some of that stuff when there's a real low range and then I'm up here and I gotta change some.
If you have somebody with a vibrato, you'll sing with a straighter tone.
I'll sing with a straighter tone, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you know, there's times that you do, maybe you want to try to add some, but not usually. If it's a wider vibrato, I keep a straighter tone because they just clash.
Your Union Station record that came out just a couple months ago, right? So there was 14 years between the records, and then there was 14 years between your records with Robert that you did.
Ooh,
What's up with the 14 years?
I don't know. I mean, they don't. We're still planning them way earlier, so it's not really. But that is funny. I didn't realize that. Yeah.
One was like 2007, 2021, and the other one was 2011 and 2025. I was just like,
We're going like this. Okay, we got
interesting.
another year.
Does Alison have something about sevens?
No, but I like it.
Before we go any further, I want to quickly interject that 57% of you watching right now are not subscribed to my channel. So please hit the subscribe button now. Thanks. Okay, so I always ask people, how do you know when a song is done?
Yeah, you do know, but I
know.
can't say there's a specific, other than you have sort of a satisfied feeling and you have a deadline and the two line up. Yeah.
Is the deadline? But will you go home and listen to, do you have a stereo or something? You listen in the car and you're like, okay, I'm good with this.
I keep it in the studio.
Okay.
Until we get mixes, you know, and we do that, then I'll ride around and then, you know, make some tweaks.
You studied classical violin when you were a kid, right?
Yeah, but not for terribly long. Not where anybody would say, "Oh yes, sounds like she was professionally trained."
Okay, well, what's the difference between violin and fiddle?
Well, I've heard people describe it as the difference between saying, you know, tomato, and mater. So, yeah, I mean, it's like calling just another name, but you play it, of course. It's one's so. I don't think that anybody's gonna say at the Philharmonica, get out your mater. Yeah.
Do you think of that as like another voice of yours?
I don't. I don't think I think that Jerry is another voice.
Jerry is another voice.
I don't think of that as no. I'd like when string parts go on, maybe so.
I was talking about Jerry yesterday, actually, and about how insanely good he is and how difficult it is to play the things that he plays. You're so used to playing with these people in your band. Do you ever just kind of say, God, they're so amazing?
Oh, yeah, I do that. When we're cutting tracks It's unbelievable to be in there and hear that go down. And when we play shows, you know, when that's going on, and sometimes I just go, I can't even believe it. It's so free and deliberate at the same time, the way they play. And it's so humble, the way they play. And it's heartbreaking that it creates such a longing. The feel of the band creates that. And it's from that attitude of being a real servant to whatever they're doing, you know, at that time.
That's a good word, servant. Servant to the song, servant to the music. When you're tracking and you have the whole band tracking together, will you guys rehearse for beforehand?
We do. We get together, and like this last time, you know, we'd been apart so long, so I'd been collecting these tunes for, some of them I had when we were finishing the previous record, and so, you know, I'm like, I wrote them, I'm like, you guys want to get together, and so played the tunes. Ron and I will do like demos, you know, just me singing them, and just so we can all hear them kind of in that place already.
Yeah.
And then we played them for everybody, and we rehearsed. But you know, those original arrangements when we are working, they're very natural when everybody gets together. It's not a labor thing. We're not coming up with anything, you know, cleverness is not something that goes along with these tunes. So there's not like these kind of intricate things that we play together. You know, we want it to sound like it just happened, you know, which a lot of times it did in those rehearsals. It's very natural. We rehearse beforehand, and we go in, and the tracking is very easy.
How many passes they didn't? Hardly any, right?
I don't think that any of them took more than maybe 4 or 5 at most. But we did recut one tune because it didn't have. I didn't have the magic. We kind of did a different arrangement than who we had learned it from, and then I was like, we should do his arrangement because it was really magical. So we cut that again. But you know, they have such a great feel, and you know, and that stuff that happens right at the beginning is so beautiful what they do. But you know, for me, and sometimes we have different feelings about which track is the one to keep.
Which take, you mean?
Yeah, which take. For me, it's when I see it, you know, see the story. It's very real, and you know, it's just spontaneous what you see. You know, that's when I want to keep them, and but sometimes it depends on how everybody's feeling.
Will you typically have more songs and record more songs, or will you say, okay, this is the group of songs that I think is going to make the record?
We may have a few more, but not many, and it's pretty obvious. And there's not a lot of things that we've cut that we then don't use. It's never. I'm trying to think if there's anything that ended up on the floor. I don't think so.
If I said to you, Alison, what's a perfect song that has that you're like, I can listen to this song forever. This.
Well, there's more than that, but one of my favorites ever is Frontline by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
That is the most incredible combination of tricking somebody into a groove and telling the most heartbreaking story. It lasts. I'm sweating now thinking about it. But like when it turns off, you're processing what just happened to you. But that song is so profound, and the way he presented it, it's so angry.
Yeah.
It's just the greatest of great. And there's a song by, and I don't know if you say it Frankie or Frank, Bob Frank, and he wrote this song called Hard Love that Tony Rice recorded. That's perfection. In his poetry, is perfection.
For the people that don't know who Tony Rice was, talk about how...
Oh boy, he listened to Clarence White, and that was his hero. Mm-hmm. And he kind of took what Clarence did, and you can hear Clarence in his playing, of course, and he ended up with Clarence's guitar, you know. And but he was a true innovator in every area of what he did. Song choices, he brought songwriters from all over the place that weren't in bluegrass yet And his arrangements were so beautiful. He had tunes, and I know this probably doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is if you grew up in this music, to cut tunes without banjo and have this kind of thing he created that was in the middle of folk and bluegrass, and it was really his sound, and guitar and singing. He was, very loved as a singer too. For me, the way the records were and the pace of the records, and I would listen to those albums, 12 hours a day sometimes, on a cassette, and just the pace of it. And I never wanted to hear anything out of order of how he wanted to present it. So I would always start at the beginning and all the way through, and never pick it up. If I didn't get to hear the whole thing, I'd start back at the beginning. But to me, it was just such a story of who he was as a guy, this material. There was no way for me to think about that these were other songwriters. It was just his story he was telling about himself, and it was quite a guy. I think a lot of times what you make up about something is just as valuable as what the truth was, when
Right.
it comes to music and where
Yeah.
it takes you and what it makes you think about, and the rules or whatever I think for recording or picking tunes. I don't know if they were his rules or not, but that's what I picked up, So it's so, my experience is my own, and someone else may have a completely different one. That's why it's like the pictures somebody puts together with a book they're reading. What the characters look like. I have my own time with these records that
Right.
make you who you are. Same thing with.
I went on a Tony Rice thing on YouTube where that's why I love YouTube. I can just go down the rabbit hole. Do you ever go back and look for performances of yourself and see?
No, not so much that.
Do you not like to hear yourself or watch yourself after?
Well, yeah, it's hard. If you there's been times you've gone, oh, maybe I better go check that, because maybe it's not as bad as I thought.
Mm-hmm. And
I've had experiences where it was worse than I thought. So I don't like to go back and check too much. Yeah.
we were kind of talking about this before we started. I was like, yeah, I hate the sound of my voice. In between these times when you're not working on a record, are you always thinking about stuff? You're like, hey, that would be a good song to do, and then write it down.
Always, yeah.
Like, what do you look for in a song?
Well, they just kind of happen.
Yeah.
I can't believe this came my way, and it's almost like there's not a formula. I like things that can be timeless, but sometimes if there's a lyric that comes in there that doesn't work, someone may change it, and we can fix it. Or if there's a beautiful piece of poetry, we can kind of change the feel, or we can change the melody, but the poetry itself has to be really moving, And what I look for it where I can't stop thinking about it, or bugs me and I can't let it go, and I'm thinking about it when I'm going to sleep, or thinking about it when I wake up, or that's usually what happens. Just become kind of obsessed with it. And I'm not a songwriter, so and I'm sure I don't try to write, but I grew up with songwriters, so I see that process, and I see that, for lack of a better word, torment, which is really beautiful, to love something so much that you work it and work it and work it. And I love watching that desire to tell the story beautifully. And so I've seen that, and I see what happens to someone when it is told beautifully, because I'm living it. I can't stop thinking about it, So that is probably, besides that part when you find those songs, it's just incredible. And usually they just start coming, They just come from unexpected sources, or people that you've sang their songs for years. They start writing again, and it's always been like that. I'm like, I guess it's getting time to record again, or like you find the one, and then the other ones that you'd been holding on to for so long find find their spot. It's pretty magical, really, that whole part of when getting time to record. Like, it's very exciting.
I was thinking about the lyrics tell a story, and then you have to tell the story through your singing.
Well, if I'm present,
Yeah.
then it tells itself. But if I'm thinking about too much other stuff, then I feel like I'm fake, so I don't want to do it.
What time of day is the perfect Alison time to sing?
I don't think I've found it yet, but usually nighttime is better.
And how long will you sing for typically in a session if you're doing vocals?
It depends. If I'm in good voice, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't sleep great, you don't, and I have to be really clean sounding.
Yeah.
I don't sound good with rasp on myself,
Yeah.
that doesn't add character, just makes me sound tired.
Is there a certain microphone setup that you like your voice through?
Sony 800.
Sony 800. Is there a particular setting that you like to sing with, like a certain reverb?
I like it dry.
Really?
I want everything dry. The diction, I want to have that really crisp diction.
And do you sing with, you have a pop filter, are you close to the mic, or do you work the distance?
No, I'm pretty close.
Yeah. Will you go periods of time where you're just like, I don't want to think about music?
No, I just think about it. I don't really have that. And if you love something and
Yeah.
you find a song or you hear somebody and it's inspiring, I mean, the greatest thing you can do is kind of live an inspired life, So those moments, it's reason to live. That stuff is what makes the world go round. Something beautiful it's compassion, it's encouragement, it's all that stuff that we love so much that we maybe don't put words to about music in general. It changes the atmosphere,
Do you ever listen to a song over and over and over?
Well, see, I have that with records, and I get scared that I'll put the feelings of today and mix it up with my memories of the past, and like I save it for when I need it. Like those Tony Rice records.
Yeah.
I wait. It has to be a special
be the
time.
right-
yeah,
right
I don't
time
want to. I just can't be frivolous with it now, because what if I need it? And I don't want it to lose those memories. Did you ever listen to Michael Johnson? Oh gosh, well, he's another one. Like, you have people that you heard at certain points in your life and everything changed. Like you don't look at anything the same way anymore since you've heard them. And like there's Tony Rice, Sean Colvin,
Yeah.
the Cox family, Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, the most beautiful arrangements, singing, the songs he chose. And first time I went to go see him play, I thought he wrote everything. It was like the same thing, like with
Yeah.
Tony, like you thought you were meeting this guy and his stories. He didn't write either. Oh, he may have written a little bit, but that wasn't the majority of his material. But that's real. Those are beautiful records too. He played nylon string guitar and sang, and beautiful.
Is it the artist's job, or do you feel like it's your thing to kind of deliver the songs? Do you have to make them your own and then?
I don't know if you have to make them that way. I think if you connect with them, that's
the way
it.
that
Yeah,
they
that's
happen.
enough. If you're, to not put on,
Do you enjoy going out and touring and singing live, or would you rather actually make records?
To me, they almost don't even line up. But I always say, the studio is doing the time, and going on the road is committing the crime. No, I like them. I like them both. The studio is costly, on yourself, and you're constantly doing an inventory of your abilities when you're in there. I mean, I'll speak for myself. It's not that way for everybody. It is for me, to pick myself apart to that level. And it's you're not doing that so much playing live, or not day after day, because you get a day off.
I heard that you had a dystonia or something, or
Dysphonia.
Dysphonia. Tell me what that is.
It's a hoarseness and a tightness in your throat. and it's like singing through a straw, and it's maddening.
How did you have it diagnosed?
Well, it's happened in, I can't remember what year it was. I think it was 10 years ago, maybe,
Okay.
maybe longer. There's just too much other stuff.
It's a brain,
Yeah, it
it's
causes
like your brain
throat to like,
connecting with your
yeah,
vocal
like
cords.
if you're angry or sad, like this is kind of where you get your emotions out.
Yeah.
And so if you are staying angry or sad, your throat, and a lot of people have had this. A lot of people I know, same thing.
Yeah.
And it drives you crazy. And so I went, to see the voice doctor, went over here, did this, did massages, whatever, to try to calm down, take time off. Well, I'm like, all I'm thinking about is the work not being done.
Yeah.
When you're taking the time
Which it
off, I
makes
got to get in there,
Makes it worse.
Yeah.
then.
And so I started to see a voice coach here in town named Ron Browning.
Okay.
And he fixed it. Wow. He fixed it. He goes, you need to have some fun, and you need to, and so you'd like, the things that he had you do were funny.
Like what?
Well, like he wanted me to yell no a bunch of times. So I'd yell no, or like, or he goes, let's go dancing. Okay, and then after, I don't know how many visits, I just walk in his house, throat be fine. And so now, the thing that's a drag about it is, we used to warm up like with a cigarette and spit, and we'd be like, oh, ready to play. And now, it's, you lose your predictability. And so luckily I haven't had another bout of it since then, but, I'm careful.
I was wondering, because I've interviewed people that have focal dystonia, that it's a repetitive, but it's a brain to hand thing. You start to lose the connection or the feeling between fingers. I was wondering if this dysphonia is actually the same thing, but with the vocal cords.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, sometimes, they say, oh, you're not listening to yourself. So your throat will close up so you don't talk. Things like that, which, it kind of adds up, like it makes sense, but it's not fun. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to go through it again. But yeah, he says, what did he say? You got to keep sweeping the floor. He says, you don't just sweep the floor once and the house stays clean. You got to keep doing it. So I keep doing it.
You and Brad work together. That's like Brad's biggest song.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, I remember when that song was circulating. Mary Martin, she gave that song, or played it for Dan Tominski, and he talked about it, and then it came up as an idea for a duet from Brad. And I remember the original line was "blew away her memory." You remember that? And
Yeah.
I thought that was too harsh.
Yes.
So that's why it says drank, but it was originally blue. And
Interesting.
I was like, oh, that's too much,
Does that happen ever, where that you'll talk about the lyrics and somebody might change a line?
Yeah. We did that. There's a song called "The Lucky One," and that was a first-person song. And if you know R.L. Castleman at all, you'll see that that's very much, he's a real character. And so that was "I'm the Lucky One, So I've Been Told." And I loved the song, and I thought it needed to be flipped to work for me to sing it about someone, as sort of a sarcastic type. And so he switched it.
And do you have that conversation? Will you say, hey, I have this idea, and what do you think? Is this okay to do this?
Yes. And we haven't always, but yes, mostly, if we think they're going to say yes. The first song on the album, there's I say, I drank it down.
Yeah.
And it was originally I drink it down.
Yep.
And I didn't want to keep the person singing it in such a dark place. I wanted to think about it being in the past, that's something they'd gotten through. Just little things like that.
Is that something that you have to actually, you have to go to the person and say, hey?
Out of politeness, yeah. I
Yeah.
think out of respect.
I heard your story with Robert about the first time he'd called you to work on you and with Sam. He was a baby, and you're talking quietly and everything. And he was like, okay, well, call you back, whatever. And then you guys eventually started working together. What were your thoughts on it when he first approached you about that?
Well, I was concerned about, like doing a duet situation. We didn't have songs yet we were talking about specifically. And the first things that we sang together were a couple Lead Belly tunes, and the way the harmonies were split. He was down here and I was up here, and so it wasn't natural to sing right above him. And so I wondered how we would do that. And, we both talked about, as far as production, we talked about T-Bone. And when we got together with T-Bone, he had a bunch of songs. And both of us, and he'd had who was singing what. And I remember, oh boy. And T-Bone says, this is great. You're right where I want you. You both are terrified. Yeah, and I really did like the tunes that he brought. And there were a couple things we'd switch, who was singing lead on the chorus, and there's a song called Killing the Blues that we did. And that melody, we switched lines and to have that all work. But there was a lot of that, the harmony spread where we switched it around and low on the bottom for him, and so skipping the baritone there. And that made a lot of that duet. But it was different to sing with him because the differences in our voices is what made that magical. And so, if we weren't exactly together, that was beautiful. Yeah. So that I had to get out of my own head with some of that.
It's like your kind of your precision, right? That the voices can be looser.
Yeah, well, and it was better.
Yeah.
It was better. It had a different life on it, and that is true. So, that was very obvious it was like that, but to not get in there and be, wearing it out, to get exactly with them, it just didn't have the romance.
T-Bone's, as a producer, is kind of a vibe guy, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that was, we had to both step out of the way, and most of those vocals leads are all track vocals on those records that he kept, and I'd be like, shouldn't I sing that stuff some more? And he goes, well, I really like this one, but if you want to sing it again, sing some more passes. And I remember thinking, well, either I trust him or I don't, and I'd rather give to his ideas in that than for me to wear it out to satisfy my mind,
What were his sessions like?
They're relaxed. But he'll wait. I find him very, very interesting.
Okay.
It's without getting weird here, but I feel like he can tell when the room is ready. Wow. And it's weird.
He knows when the vibe's right.
Well, I guess so. That's the same thing you said. It's weird. And he's right. And so we'll go in, until we waiting, and we're all kind of okay, yeah, okay. And then he's like, it'll just meander. Well, let's go in there, and it's magical. I don't know what he's tapped into, but it's into something because he knows when to go.
Did you meet T-Bone when you guys were involved in the Oh Brother Where Art Thou? Was that the first time you worked together?
That's when I met T-Bone, yeah.
When that came out, all of a sudden, bluegrass blew up. Was that shocking?
It was.
What was that all about?
That was, well, I remember after it, at the time I was a new mother when it came out, so I wasn't, doing much but paying attention to that. And so I knew that the movie had done well just by people saying it had done well.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, we're going to put together a tour. And I remember we were playing a stadium in Lexington, Kentucky. And I was like, what's going on here? And there was a lot of people.
Were you why are we playing a stadium?
Well, kind of. I was like, wow, this is kind of wild. And I remember Norman well, no, it wasn't. Well, yeah, it was Norman. Blake went out and sang Big Rock Candy Mountain. And that was the first song of the night. And the cheer from the stadium. I'm like, what is happening? Yeah, that was pretty sweet. That whole thing was very sweet. And T-Bone was so respectful of all those people playing that music. And he wanted it in its most pure form.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd set up the mics, everybody did it live. And he there was no direction other than basically do it again. And I was like, this is beautiful to me, how he did that. It was, you know, maybe not most people, but some people might want to get in there and, oh, hey, can you, he didn't. He just honored those people, like, and so proud of him. The way he honored Ralph Stanley was amazing. And I remember, you know, during the Grammy stuff, and I was standing there, and they were doing an interview, and asking him questions about it, because he was up for, you know, so many awards, and he would say, "That's great. Have you met Dr. Ralph Stanley?" And he would turn the interview over and showcase Ralph. Yeah, it was moving how he was with all the people and honoring what they'd done their whole lives.
You're on this soundtrack, and then all of a sudden, bluegrass has its moment. It must have just been like, I can't believe this.
Yeah, it was really something, because, you know, most of these people that play this music, they love it so much. You know, it's a calling, and then to see the world recognize it like they did, and it was magical. You wish everybody could have been a part of the soundtrack, you know, to enjoy that. But everybody did experience the new interest in it.
I had Billy Strings at my studio, who's carrying on the tradition and a wonderful player and singer. He talks about his dad turning him on to bluegrass, and it was such a great story to hear. It's cool.
Yeah, and he honors all the old songs.
He does.
You know, and I looked at a track listing on one of his records one time, and what I saw on the back, I'm like, that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the honor. And that's one thing, you know, about bluegrass music. They always honor the fathers.
Yes.
They do, and that's a beautiful part of this, and I love what he's doing with that intention. And, you know, the Cox family, this family that I've known for years and years, their father, who's now gone, taught that generation how to play. And now the son has taught his daughters how to play. They all play like him. They all
it's amazing.
Sing. Yeah, and they learned that way. And you can hear it, so humble, the tradition. You can hear it in how they say their vowels, just like they have for generations. It's beautiful. But you know what I did remember when you asked, is there a song I listen to all the time, over and over? Yes, and it's on YouTube, which is my destination. Every day is YouTube. Mm-hmm. Guitar Man with Jerry Reed and Tom Jones on the Tom Jones Show. Have you seen
my God, yes.
Over and over and over. Yeah, that one, I can't get enough.
I was watching Tom Jones today. Oh my God.
Which one? Long time coming?
Yes. It across me, she's like, wow. Psyched. I'm just, this is amazing. I see stuff like this, like, thank you, YouTube.
Yeah.
Right?
It's amazing.
Like, why did YouTube know that I needed to see that today?
Did you watch all the stuff at the end? like at the end of the show, the Tom Jones show, where he's doing a medley with Little Richard.
All right, we're going to watch it here.
Okay.
Jenny, 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 won't you come along with me? Jenny, Jenny, woo, Jenny, 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 won't you come along with me? Jenny, Jenny, woo, Jenny, Jenny, you know that I love you. We can live so happily. Jenny, Jenny, woo, Jenny, Jenny. I spin it, spin it, spin it, spin it like I spin a top. Spin it, spin it, woo, spin it, spin it, spin it, spin it, spin it, spin it like I spin a top. You got me spinning, woo, spin it, spin it. I need a little partner. You wanna see us reel and rock? Jenny, Jenny, woo, yeah.
Rip it up. Oh my God.
Saturday night and I just got paid. What about my money? Don't try to say. My heart said go, go. Have a time called Saturday night and I feel fine. Gonna rock it up.
Here we go.
I'm gonna rip it up. I'm gonna sing it up. Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna rock it up at the borderline. Oh, I got me a date and I won't be late. I picked her up in my 88. Shank on down by the usual. Just jumping, I have a ball. Gonna rock it up. Ah, I'm gonna rip it up. I'm gonna sing it up. I'm gonna break it up.
Oh my God.
We're gonna rock it up at the borderline. Take it again. Along about 10, I'll be flying high. We're gonna rock on down to the sky. But I don't care if it's paying the door. That tonight I gotta be one happy soul. I'm gonna rock it up.
My God, this is... Okay, so how ridiculous is that?
No, it's so good. There's other ones. Have you seen Stevie Wonder and Glenn Campbell? Have you seen that?
No.
That's unbelievable.
Oh my God.
That's unbelievable. And there's the one, did you see Glenn Campbell and David Gates?
No.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
What are they doing?
They're singing bread tunes, and Glenn comes in and takes the lead, and it's so beautiful. But that's unbelievable. Him taking that lead on that.
Gates
Yeah,
on that.
Stevie Wonder and Glenn Campbell singing "Blowing in the Wind."
Hold on, let's look that
yeah,
up.
okay, yeah. You have to see both. You have to see both.
How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a name? How many seas must a wife for she sleeps in the sand. Yeah, yeah. How many times must those cannonballs be fired? Oh, that forever band. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you that the answer, my friend, is a blow of wind in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. I hope they get the message. How many years can a mountain exist? Yeah, before it is washed to the sea.
Oh my God.
And tell me how many years can some people exist? Oh, no. Before they're allowed to be free. Yes, and how many times
It's amazing. Was that on Glenn's
That's
variety show? Oh my gosh. That is.
But I think the other one with David Gates is on his show too, and Glenn takes a verse.
And what song are they doing? Are they
It's
doing
a medley.
You want to do a medley of 'em?
Let's do it.
Okay, you start it out and I'll join you.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, have you ever tried really reaching out for the other side? Maybe climbing on rainbows, but baby, here goes. Dreams there for those who sleep. Life it's for us to keep. If you're wondering what this all is leading to, I wanna make it with you. I really think that we could make it, girl. Baby, I'ma want you. Baby, I'ma need you. You're the only one I care enough to hurt about. Maybe I'm a crazy, but I just can't live without your loving and affection, giving me direction
Oh my God.
like a guiding light to help me through my darkest hour. Lately I'm a praying that you'll always be staying beside me. Used to be my life was just emotions passing by. Then you came along and made me laugh and made me cry. You taught me why everybody needs
So,
a
Glenn was a genius. And the fact that we had variety shows like that back then,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
you'd have these kind of performances, you'd never see anything like that.
Did you ever see on Pavarotti's concert when he had James Brown come sing?
No.
Okay, at some point you'll have to check that out.
This. I could just go down these rabbit holes all the time. Did you think people just? That's the beauty of this, is that people just upload this stuff that they recorded on some VCR. You know.
Yeah, I go for Tom Jones daily, and you know who else is? You can't knock him off of any. He's gonna hit it every time. It's Delbert McClinton.
Yeah.
Now I love his live stuff. I go find that same song over and over and over and over and over. You know, different places,
Different versions.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just
Okay, so that's your kind of thing that I was talking about, where you will go and watch. You'll hear
Oh,
the
yeah.
same,
This-
find different versions.
yeah.
Sometimes people will, if they've performed a song over and over and over, then they start changing it and changing it and changing it. Then it starts to become unrecognizable in a way.
Yeah, but you know, I get it. It's like a good story lasts, and life sounds good on those things, you know. And they do evolve, and they do evolve when that person is doing the same tune for years. You know, that person changes. Why wouldn't that
True.
tune evolve? So I kind of take that, you know. I want to know. I want to know where they are now, you know.
I was at a concert, and they were doing a song that was down so low that I was like, I don't recognize this song. The had dropped the keys so much, but some keys have a very specific sound. What do you think about that?
No, I know what you mean. I've heard it. Do you remember there's something, I remember Billy Joel was talking about Cold as Ice. You know this story?
Yeah. No.
Oh, and he played it in the key he originally sang it in. And then he was talking about when Mick and Lou did it.
Yeah.
And how different it sounded when they had switched the key, and he plays it back to back. It's the difference is unbelievable. Just how it popped out of there.
Yeah.
The beginning of that. That's on there on YouTube. You can find it.
That's another thing too, right? Like finding the right key for a song. How do you know what the right key is? Do you experiment? Do you move things around? And
Yeah, we'll have an idea, and then we'll usually try it where it's too low, try it where it'll end up too high, because I want to know that we've covered it, you know.
will you go to the part where maybe the highest note is and say, okay, this feels right?
It's usually pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It's just where it sits and it comes alive, in that spot, or the energy is a little more intense, or maybe you want to back off of it and it'd be a little bit easier going. Not necessarily easier here, but feeling easier.
Let me play Looks Like the End of the Road here.
It's the end of the circus and I'm feeling sad like a clown. My makeup is drowning in blood, sweat and tears from my heart, and a fear that when I look around I lost what I found when I started off. Never thought I'd cross the lines that were drawn a long time ago, are buried and gone in lies and ego. And I drank it down but can't cover up the lives that I've lost. I've run out of luck. Goodbye to the world that I know. Looks like the end of the road. Isolate in the darkest of nights, and I'm down to the wire, surrounded by fire. Pull the plug from the jug, but you can't wash it out of your mind or stay ahead of the crime. When I started off, never thought I'd cross the lines that were drawn a long time ago, are buried and gone in lies and ego. And I drank it down but can't cover up the lives that I've lost. I've run out of luck. Goodbye to the world that I know. Looks like the end of the road. Goodbye to the world that I know. Looks like the end of the
The things that I love in the second verse, the bass inversions, where the bass goes to the third, then drops down to the fifth, the ensemble playing like that. And I know that it's just, these guys are just doing this. I love your phrasing on, like, when you say the end of the road, you kind of drag a little bit, you drag the phrase out. The style part of that to me is just so beautiful.
Thank you.
But these guys just,
The tracks go fast.
yeah.
It's the overdubs, that take the time, and the strings, and This we had my brother come and do all the strings, so he's telling me, the notes to play. I was up in places I didn't know even existed on my instruments, and but he, that added a whole other personality to this record that I love what he came.
It's your
up
brother Victor, is
Victor,
it?
yeah.
So talk about Victor. So you guys grew up playing music together or separately or together?
Yeah, Vic was very much into classical and jazz, and I was into bluegrass and rock and roll, and then he got into rock and roll, and I got more into bluegrass, and so, yeah, we like a lot of the same stuff, and, and have a lot of the same, emotional ties to sounds, growing up, same pieces of music, that our parents listened to, and we both, he's like, does the sound of a music box just kill you? I'm like, oh my gosh, or bells, certain things that remind us of, the past that we have ties to. So he worked a lot on this record with us on overdubs, adding bells and sounds, and we wanted to have, some low frequency in the hangman, and so, we were imitating The Shining in some places, and he grew up listening to soundtracks. That was his big thing. And so, I might be here with strings. He's like this, with his sight onto it, and he has perfect pitch. So we'd be sitting in there, and, some of these things he hadn't heard yet, just be on the fly, and he's like, sit like this and go, this is what I'm thinking. It was literally, me and Neil get a real kick out of it, but he comes from, he's over here, with his thoughts about things and memories where to tie that into the tunes, and, we'll talk about the lyrics and where to bring, emphasize this here with the parts or stay off of that because of that, and it was great to do that. He did a beautiful job.
Did you guys have that kind of connection with music when you were kids, or is this something that as you both developed professionally that you kind of...
Well, the rock and roll stuff for sure.
Yeah.
He played me Led Zeppelin first, and I knew of Robert's music, like from MTV. We watched a lot of MTV and all that. He probably knows much more about all of that than I do. I was pretty immersed in bluegrass, but I always listened to the old English stuff like Paul Rodgers, and we like all that hard singing, It's like Ralph Stanley, similar place, that passionate, hard, dry singing.
It's so funny because you have such a pure sound, right? And but you love these power singers.
I love it. I love that kind of singing. Yeah, it's Ralph, It's Ralph in another form.
Did he used to play with Lyle Lovett?
Yeah.
Does he still play with Lyle Lovett?
Yeah, he went out with us for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But he played with Lyle for 30-something years.
Yeah.
And James Taylor, and he did stuff with Graham Nash and Michael McDonald. Has a long list of...
That's so cool. It's nice to have, have your sibling that you can share that stuff with.
Yeah, he's not as blunt as I might like him to be.
So what do you have coming up in the future here? Do you have anything coming up soon that you're working on?
Oh, I've got some songs, and we're touring right now, and so that's been a blast. And we have Dan left the band a couple years ago,
yeah.
And a guy named Russell Moore has joined us, and that has been an amazing experience to get near that voice. And we have heard him as long as we've been playing. He's from the same generation as us.
Yeah.
And hearing him come in here and sing, and my brother, his eyes were welling up when he was hearing him sing, and he's just like, oh my gosh, listen how he says the word sky. It's just so beautiful. It's different. He's from Texas, and you hear this dialect come through with us that wasn't there before, and it's just, and my brother is like, oh, this is a new era for the band, which was like, his eyes on. I'm like, ugh. But you hear him sing the Hangman, and that tune, that tune is a poem. I was trying to find, you know that song Renegade that Tommy Shaw wrote?
Yeah.
And I've always said that song is the most perfect story. And it's the perfect story for a bluegrass band, and the way the lyrics, the poetry is so great. And I was like, man, I wish we could find a song like Renegade. So I was on the internet and I was like looking up poems, and I'm like, Hangman, you know. And up popped this poem by Maurice Ogden. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. And so like we're looking at it, it's real long. It's a real long story. It gets really dark. And so I sent it to Vic. And I'm like, Vic, you know, will you write, for this poem, will you write the melody? And I'm like, will you put it in G? Because, you know, like the tenor voice, you know, bluegrass, F sharp is like Mr. Money note. And then if they really have it going on, they'll hit the G, and it's awesome. Yeah. So that's how we ended up with that tune. Vic did that, and oh, I just love the melody he came back with. I thought it was one of the freshest things we've ever done, and everybody was so proud of it during tracking. And Russell came in and sang it, and it just blew my mind. And we went crazy with the strings, and we've got some, you know, the horror film frequencies down in there to put it. I love the story. I love how it turned out. I thought that's a fresh sound for the group.
Having that new energy in the band at this point it's got to be exciting.
Well, you know, it is very exciting and so different.
Yeah.
And we knew he was great, but we had no idea. And he's got that thing, you know, that all those ballad stoic singers have. And he's like this. He's like a psychopath singing these tunes. And I'm like, this is wild. I mean, everybody knows him in this music. And we didn't think he would do it because he's got his own thing going on and has for years, and he's very committed, and his reputation is stellar just of what kind of guy he is. So, you know, I said, you know, when Dan left and we had a meeting with the rest of us, and I said, you know, I see Russell. I'm like, I don't know if he'll do it. And I remember Barry's like, I don't know if he'll do it. And they like call him, and I'm like, ah. And so when he said, yeah, he goes, I'll think about it. And it took him a bit to decide, but boy, what a voice.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I just couldn't have prepared myself. And I said to somebody the other day, I said, I watch him sing on stage, and I'm so proud of what he's doing. It's like you would have thought I'd known him for years, and I really don't know him very well.
Let me play a little bit of the Hangman.
Yeah.
Into our town the hangman came, smelling of gold and blood and flame, and he paced our bricks with a diffident air, and built his frame on the courthouse square. The scaffold stood by the courthouse side, only as wide as the door was wide. A frame as tall or a little more than the capping sill of the courthouse door. of knotted hemp in his busy fist. And then I said, though we were with dread, we passed those eyes of buckshot lead, till one cried, hangman, who is he, for whom you raised the gallows tree? A twinkle grew in the buckshot eye. He gave us a riddle instead of reply. He who served me the best, said he, shall learn the rope on the gallows tree. The next day sun looked mildly down on roof and street in our quiet town. Stark and black in the morning air, the gallows tree on the courthouse square.
Beautiful. It's almost like a Celtic feel to it. The vocal performance is just perfect. Like every note of it is just perfect.
Yeah, his pocket is amazing.
So good.
Yeah, he's been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
And it was, I just like, we see him at shows, you know, and festivals, but I was always a bit intimidated by him to talk to him, you know, because he was, and so like this is wild when he came in to sing. He has hands in his pockets, just sings like that.
So Alison, by my calculations, let's see, the next record with you and Robert is 2035, and then 14 years after this one, 2039.
It won't be that long this time. We've got too many things in the. We got our songs.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Alison, it's so nice of you to spend some time here. This
My
is
pleasure. Nice to talk
It's so
to you.
great to meet you, and
To meet you too.
you're awesome.
Oh,
Thank you.
we enjoyed it.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Yeah.
I'll make you a list of things to watch.
Please make
for
me a
sure.
list.
Yeah.
Do that.